you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you. All right. Starting off with celebrating our successes.
Before we do that, quick adjustment to the agenda.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. On item 10.3Q on consent, which is the personnel action report, there were a couple errors. We got some Stephanies confused, and we've fixed that, and found that there is a stipend now for somebody doing activities at the junior high. So that name's also been included. So you all have it on your blotters. And I think there's copies in back if anybody wants to grab it. So.
All right. Thank you so much. All right, now starting off with celebrating our successes, we have the Healdsburg High School Wellness Center and Wellness Youth Council here to present.
And I just want to introduce Kim Harris and Christina Valencia and the Wellness Youth Council, and they're here to tell you all about what they've been doing.
Woo.
Hello, my name is Kim Harris, and I'm the mental health counseling specialist at the high school. And today we have some of our members of the Wellness Youth Council here to share about their goals for the school year, and then also we have some updates around just the Wellness Center in general. So I thought we could just start with name and what grade or role we have here at the high school. So
hello, my name is Christina and I work at the Wellness Center as the Wellness Outreach Specialist. It is my second year and I'm happy to be here.
I'm Sienna and I'm a junior.
My name is Dariella and I'm a sophomore.
My name is Sage and I'm a junior.
I'm Lucas and I'm a junior as well.
Hi, I'm Rasheen and I'm a junior as well.
Awesome. So we're going to go ahead and switch the slide. So the Wellness Center model focuses on coordination of care that involves all these other components beyond the physical space. It's much larger than just the space and involves many key leaders in the process. Today we will focus on the student voice branch of the Wellness Center. The Wellness Center model works best when it's student-driven because students know students best. The Youth Council is a diverse group of 15 to 20 students that will provide ongoing input to help us serve our students and community to the best of our ability.
And then we just wanted to quickly go over how the Wellness Center does fit onto the multi-tiered system of support framework. So by having the Wellness Center at the high school, it's allowing a lot more opportunities for Tier 1 interventions. So we have the drop-in space where students can come and regulate throughout the day, different classroom workshops focused on different wellness education, and then school-wide initiatives as well. And it increases the number of students who are receiving support and getting their needs met in more of a preventative rather than reactive way. And this also reduces the need for more Tier 2 and Tier 3 interventions. So, so far this school year, we've been seeing a lot of students using the drop-in space, and it's been great to see some of the new freshman faces as well.
So some may ask, what is the Wellness Youth Council and why is it important? So building into the idea that students know students best, they'll touch a little more on this, but we've introduced a TA who's a senior, and that kind of builds into the idea that students know students best and has, again, built towards creating a space that creates a voice for kids to provide input, which is what we are, and also creating a space for people to talk to other students about what they need and what they want on campus. And into some more broader facts here, Schools are the most common entry point for mental health services, with 70% of youth accessing those services through school or at school. And students who engage in school wellness initiatives feel better about themselves, do better in schools, and their attendance improves. And students receiving school-based mental health services improve their grades more quickly than their peers. And when mental health services in schools are more available, depressive episodes and risk of suicide decreases.
Building on to what Lucas said, the Youth Wellness Council is so important because we need to break the stigma around mental health, especially for our peers that we may not even realize are struggling. As he said, grades can improve with mental health help, and that goes for test scores, reading, and math as well. It can also address other issues, such as academic stress, substance use support, home life, and even friendship struggles. So, like Lucas said, only 16% of children receive mental health service, and 70 to 80% of that is at school. That's so important for academic success and other factors playing into everyday life that teens may struggle with.
The purpose of the Wellness Youth Council retreat was to focus on building stronger relationships within the group and developing goals for the school year.
And here are just some photos of what we did. There's a therapy dog, Jack Frost. He comes in once a week at school at lunch. And we led the FMC students through a gratitude tree activity where they just wrote what they're grateful for and stuck it on the wall.
And some goals we have for the school year are first, mental health awareness campaigns like collaborating with other classes like art, fentanyl awareness, and destigmatizing mental health.
And we're planning probably within the next few weeks a empathy-based activity called Leave a Secret, Read a Secret. And it's basically we have a stand and index cards, and students write thoughts, feelings, whatever they want, and put them in an input box, and then other students will read them, not out loud, and they then will write their own thoughts and feelings and drop it in the input box. And then we also are going to start a peer mentor program. So if we have new students, then there will be current students that can lead them around the school and kind of show them the ropes. Because again, kids know kids best, and it's probably more comfortable for new students to have a peer show them around.
And another goal is collaborating with elementary schools more frequently, like they did at the retreat.
And we also want to develop more teacher-student relationships, stronger ones, and make each group aware of the needs of students and be that voice for students that might be academically struggling that teachers might not be aware of.
And our last goal is for the Youth Council to become a course at HHS that students can take. And in the meantime, the Wellness Center has TA opportunities to develop strong peer-to-peer support skills and learn how to support other students.
So at the retreat, we talked about what do we value in our group, and we all agree that we should focus on prioritizing kindness, teamwork and cooperation, respect and confidentiality, and embracing differences.
Okay. So I have an overview of some updates just from the last or the first 2 months of the school year so far. And I just wanted to say that we are definitely seeing some patterns with our wellness center that map onto what other schools around the country who have wellness centers start to see, which is a decrease in the number of crisis and risk assessments, as well as a reduction in the suspension, diversion, counseling referrals. And we're also seeing students reporting an increase in their ability to cope with stressors in a healthier manner. I just want to point out one of the data points up there, the 77 out of the 533 or 535 students between HHS and MBA. Last year, for the whole school year, we had 112 students access the Wellness Center at one point, and we're already almost at 80 just from August to October. And that number has already increased in the month of November. So that to me is just an amazing highlight that is showing us that we're starting to normalize students seeking support when they need it. And that's one aspect of the Wellness Center that I think is really strong in terms of its tier 1 support, because students are able to get support when they need it without necessarily having to agree to ongoing one-to-one counseling. And sometimes that's all that they need in that moment. So a couple other things to highlight. As mentioned, we have a TA position this year, and our TA has gone through training and education around peer mentoring. So she went through the Power of Peers curriculum and is now able to support students in the Wellness Center one period in her schedule. And that's been really rewarding to see other students supporting each other. And, students who might not even know each other, being able to build this bond and connect is really strong and really great to see. We're also seeing students from all grade levels accessing the Wellness Center, and about 2/3 of the about 80 students are girls, and the other third is boys, and about 10% non-binary students. And, this is the second full year that the Wellness Center has been in existence, and we are just excited to gather more data over the next few years to really see what is the impact that the Wellness Center is having on student outcomes. And in the meantime, we have some more narrative stories around certain students that came in during freshman year not having the right coping mechanisms, maybe having anxiety and depression, or even thoughts of self-harm. And now, there's a junior student who comes to my mind. Freshman year, they came in struggling with all these different things, and now their GPA has improved, their attendance has improved, and also their general sense of well-being, and they feel comfortable coming and accessing the Wellness Center. We also have another student who, had a reputation that they're working to change on campus, and they've had lots of frequent office referrals. They've accessed wellness centers, they've increased their motivation and decreased how many times they're being sent to the office. So we hope to just have more and more stories like this and more data around how is it really impacting our students in the future. And I'm excited to use the Panorama software to kind of help us monitor that in more detail. So with that, we just appreciate your time and want to open it up for any questions.
I don't have a question, but I just want to thank you. I got a tour of the Wellness Center early last year after one of our Wellness Committee meetings and was just so impressed with the whole setup, all the offerings, and I'm pleasantly surprised, not surprised, but I'm just happy that the numbers are increasing, that students are taking advantage of it, that they're not afraid to take advantage of it, they don't think it's hard to do. I was telling my daughter last year, who's long a graduate of the high school about this, and her first reaction was, "Oh my God, I would never have gone in there, right?" And I'm like, no, no, no. This is the whole point: is that it's a resource for everyone, and it doesn't have that stigma, right? I mean, and when I hear that students are bringing in their friends, you need to come in here and talk to someone and stuff. That's super powerful. So I want to thank the youth team especially for taking a lead in this and really having a vision for how amazing this can be for you and your friends at school, because it does make a difference. So thank you.
It's hard to add anything to that. It was so well said. In education, we often look for the grades and the graduates and all those number things, but we also know, and you here clearly show us that if somebody feels well, they perform well. If they feel good, they perform good. They build strong relationships, et cetera, and quite honestly make the school a better school. And that is certainly our goal. And quite honestly, I thank you all.
I was gonna say everything that Donna just said, so I don't want to repeat it. But yeah, I think it's really cool that it's only been like 3 months into the school year, about 3 months, right? And 77 students have already utilized this space, right? And the fact that students are feeling comfortable bringing in a friend to be like, hey, this is a spot that I like to hang out, that I feel safe in. Like, here's this spot that maybe you can feel safe in. And word spreads, and before we know it, I would ideally love to see this number go up. So next time that report comes by, that number is like in the hundreds type of thing, but which I'm sure at this rate will definitely be there. But you guys are doing an awesome job, and thank you for looking out for your peers and just, being a good school community.
I would just add, please come back in the spring. And seriously, give us an update, please.
We could do a little end-of-year status report. Yeah, be good. Yeah. I just want to echo students, thank you so much for your leadership in this, because this is not something kids think about, too often, and it takes people like you leading the way to kind of destigmatize and help us be able to reach out. So really appreciate your leadership on this.
Thank you. All right. Now we have any public comments on non-agenda items. We do. By Chris Vandenhoevel, on the topic of data dashboard.
Yeah, actually, I'm going to do a quick tangent and just thank the Raven Theater for a great Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader yesterday. And thank you to Melissa Walker and Lisa Phipps, our teachers who participated in our great group of 6 students. And we were able to, it was a lovely event, and we were able to raise, what, $2,100, I think, for 5th grade science camp. Yeah. I know most people have heard by now, we're going to send something home to parents this week, but we were recognized last week by the state of California in their press release around the data dashboard. And I cannot say enough how big of an honor that is. I've never worked in a district that was even mentioned in anything from California in a good way, right? And so we were called out amongst 4 districts in the state, and there's nearly 1,000 districts in the state of California, as leaders and exemplars for progress and student achievement. And I want to highlight a couple things that are not in the press release that maybe you didn't internalize, and it's going to work its way up to kind of a big crescendo here. All students at HES and FMC last year on the science test scored well above the state average. At HES FMC as a group, students were 13 points above standard in ELA and math, right? So statistically, our students were above the standard. And again, the standard on the CASP is on track for UC admission. So it is a high bar, right? This is a high bar that we're achieving. All students at the junior high improved in science, and all subgroups scored above the state average there in science. Massive improvement in the English language arts side of the CASP at the junior high, 34 points. 34 points, 5 points above standard as a group at the junior high on ELA. And specifically our subgroups, Latinos, English learners, and socioeconomically students there increased by over 30 points each. At the high school, Latino students and students who are socioeconomically disadvantaged as a group scored 17 points and 26 points respectively above the standard on the English language arts, right? So statistically, they're there. Doesn't mean there's not kids meeting it yet, but statistically in terms of achievement, they're getting there. And English learners, excuse me, that was the junior high I was just reading. And then finally, our college and career readiness indicator was up 17% from last year. So we're at 76% overall. This is a 10% higher than any other school in Sonoma County. And our Latino students' college and career readiness indicator is 64.8%. Put that in context, the state of California's indicator for all students is 51.7%. The state of California's indicator for white students is 58. Our Latino students are at 64. So within the state of California, we've kind of erased this achievement gap that typically happens with Latino students as an underserved population when it comes to college and career readiness indicator. These are monumental achievements, and just really excited about it. It is directly attributable to the strong work that our students put in, and then the hard work that our teachers and the rest of our staff are putting in to serve those kids. So I just wanted to give it a little context. It's more than just a shout out from the state. We are realizing some huge gains that are meaningful in terms of students' lives and the trajectory that they're headed. So.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Do we have any public comments on non-agenda items? No.
Nope.
No, see none. All right. Do we have an approval to the consent agenda?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All right. So moving on to 10 point. Hold on. Oh my gosh. Thank you. 11.1, student learning, a new Healdsburg High School course proposal given to us by high school principals.
Dr. Downhausen.
So I'm just going to say a few words and then turn it over to Karen Wilkinson, who actually wrote the course. But we're excited to bring food science on. It's going to act as a replacement for our marine freshwater course that we're not teaching this year. That used to be taught by Pat McDowell. Ms. Wilkinson taught it for a year, but food science is something she has a lot of experience with. Fits in really well with our culinary department along with our ag farm to table classes. But yeah, I'll let Ms. Wilkinson speak to it. So.
All right. Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me. Food science is a highly relevant applied science. It's designed for 3rd and 4th year science students. So they would take that course after completing biology and chemistry, either in the general ed track or in the ag track. It is a study of food. And so in a place like Healdsburg, where it's such a food-centric culture, so many of our families are involved in hospitality or agriculture, it's just an incredible opportunity to really engage students in high-level science in a way that they can really understand and actually consume. So the course starts with looking into how do you objectively study food. We have so many opinions around food, so really getting into how do you objectively determine texture, taste, appearance, and so some of the industry approaches to doing those sort of studies, like taste test panels. We then explore the whole human biology component. So what is the sensory science? Like how do we experience food? How is our sense of taste and smell contributing to that experience? We look into food safety and food preservation, and then do a real deep dive into the macromolecules. So looking at carbohydrates, proteins, and lipids or fats. For each of those, we look at it from a chemical basis. So we do actually quite a bit of work in general chemistry. So looking at atomic structure and molecular structure, looking at how chemical bonding occurs between different molecules. And then for each of those macromolecules, we look at that structure. We look at also how does it play a role in food? How does it play a role in our diets? So for example, for sugars, we'll study crystallization. For starches, we look into spherification. So how can you create things like boba? And so we can do some sort of fun labs that are edible. We look at the gluten formation that contributes to bread when we study the four-dimensional structures of proteins. And we also look at enzymes, and so like their role in cheese making, for example. So we'll make ricotta, we'll make chev, and then I like to do like a big cheese tasting and for cheeses that we can't make in the classroom, but where students can really have that intense experience of looking at how different types of approaches can create such incredibly different experiences with just the same basic ingredients of milk and salt and whatnot. So we also look into major dietary trends. So looking at things like the gluten-free movement. We look at the dietary impacts of our food choices. So for example, in the study of fats, look at how different the structures, like actual molecular structures of different fats, like unsaturated and saturated fats, how that then contributes to their behavior in our foods, how that contributes to the interactions in our arteries. And so there's a real health component. And then it also provides a great opportunity for us to look into some really important, like global contemporary food issues, such as the environmental impact of our food choices, such as looking at food security and ways that we can access food in communities, and the incredible challenge of how are we going to feed 10 billion people on this planet by 2060. So in my experience, I developed this course and taught it for 7 years at Windsor High before I came over to Healdsburg. I found it to be an incredible opportunity to engage students from various academic levels. I had students that were AP track students, and I had students who were barely getting by meeting their graduation requirements. Because it's such an engaging topic, because every single one of us has a relationship with food, it provides a really neat opportunity, an entry point for me to guide students and help them to develop an appreciation for science and to practice those scientific skills while learning about something that they generally, find some interest in. So really excited about it. I think it's going to be a great contribution to our science offerings, and so yeah, it's going to be wonderful.
I like how it complements the culinary program as well.
Yeah, and I actually forgot to mention, so it will be a Lab D supported class, so it'll be approved for the UCs and CSUs as a lab science, but it's also a CTE course. So I'm CTE certified, and it's cool. Within the hospitality pathway. So it'll add to our offerings for that as well.
That's awesome.
I think that's really
awesome. Sounds great, and thank you so much for that really comprehensive description of. I totally want to take this class.
Well, I hope I see your kids in there. Other questions?
No, just appreciate you bringing kind of your passion into it. And
yeah, that's really
I'm
cool.
expecting to be invited for cheese tasting. So,
yeah, absolutely. That's the highlight. Okay, well,
awesome. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Healdsburg High School Plan for Student Achievement. Hello again.
Let me also say, Karen made some delicious cranberry sauce today for our staff's giving, and if that's any indication of what she knows about food, I'm really excited about. She made it in the oven. She dehydrated the cranberries. It was amazing. Let me tell you.
Excuse me, Dr. Denhausen, you understand that when you say these things, you have to provide something for the board to
Well, she needs to
double
give me
check.
the recipe, and then we can get started. I'll bring you guys some. Yeah, great. Had some cinnamon there, some orange peel. Yeah. Okay, Healdsburg High School, the plan for student achievement. Thank you for letting us present this month or this last month. Yeah, next slide, please. Great. So just to be clear on how it fits together, and we talked about this last year a little bit, we go from our LCAP to the WASC to the SIPSA. We spent a lot of time last year on the WASC designing mission and vision for our school, thinking about next steps over the next few years. And this year, really looking at that SIPSA for the tip of the spear. Didn't make a lot of changes from what we planned from last year. I think the last time I was up in front of you guys, I talked about go slow to go fast as our staff motto this year. And there's a couple of things that we're working on that I'm excited to talk about today. So when we look at this and where we're at currently with rigor and relevance and community, we've decreased suspension rates, we've increased engagement on Youth Truth. 50% of our students went to a four-year university last year. Chris spoke to some of the new data highlights. I also want to shout out our science department, which had some of the highest scores in the county, and that was a huge improvement. So we went from 33% proficient to 48% proficient year over year, which we actually attribute to the number of AP offerings and advanced science offerings that we have. So great. Yeah. On to the next one, please. Yeah, great. So our goals summary for what we're going to be looking at, and I've actually highlighted some of those WASC areas from last year so you guys can see what those are. But what I really want to focus on is where we are at this year. And part of this is due to a data collaborative that I believe Tiffany brought to us and Chris as part of our DLT. And in looking at the data on how our students perform, we're very proud of where we are at as a school and the Latino performance of our students, the overall performance, the socioeconomic students who are performing at high levels. But there is a group of students who we've identified as underperforming where we think they should be, especially based upon where they come out of their elementary school. And that is our students who have reclassified at some point in time out of English language learner status. And for many of these students, they're reclassifying at the elementary school level. When they exit elementary school, they are coming out outperforming their peers. And by the time they're taking the CASP in high school, they are underperforming their peers significantly. And we just were able to download the data files out of CASP and see that this stays true this year with our students. And so we can look across all of these and the things that we're focused on, but I know academically where we are really focused is in designing opportunities for our RFEP students to continue to receive language supports that will allow them to be successful, specifically in our math classrooms where we know that's where we have the most work to do, but also in our ELA classrooms and our science classrooms. And I think a lot of this has to do with language support. It's not about automaticity in math. It's not about computation. It's about, can you read and understand the language that's in front of you and then produce whatever it is that you're being asked to produce. So yeah, you can see on there underneath rigor, math support, multilingual learner, RFEP support specifically. And lastly, the PLC piece is something I want to talk to also. We are in the second year of CAPS. I'm sure you guys are familiar with what CAPS is. And we're really excited about it. We're rolling out all sorts of interesting sort of approaches to student performance, including interim assessments, essential standards work, looking and aligning practices across departments where people are individual teachers, right? So a lot of our teachers teach in silos. Because we're a small high school, they do a tremendous job, but you don't have another U.S. history teacher you can talk to about an interim. You can, however, talk about how we want kids to answer questions, even if it's in U.S. history and world history. So every department taking a different approach to how they want to improve instruction, and looking forward to just continuing that over the next few years within the CAPS program. Great. So this just continues to go into that on what we're looking at, right? So if it's multilingual support, we're talking about, we have an instructional assistant. The monitoring of RFEP students is actually pretty low level in what we're asked to do. And I think there's like a lot more work that we have to accomplish and ways of not just monitoring, but supporting these students within the classroom, whether that's new instructional techniques that we're giving to teachers, whether it's specific language instruction, whether it's identifying students early and providing them additional support in the form of different classes, whether that's academic workshop, math lab, whatever we can think of. We know that this is an area where we need to continue to improve. Yeah, if you want to go to the next slide. Again, AP, CTE, A through G completion. To speak a little bit more to Chris's comment on college and career readiness, where we were at 75%, we actually just, we really dove into that to see what it is that makes up those numbers. A really large part of that is the seal of biliteracy. So big shout out to Andrea Ruiz, Cynthia Guig, and Maria Cardiel, who have established that program. We had 50 students qualify last year. We have 36 students who are going to qualify this year. Percentage-wise, that's a very similar percentage, about a third of our students. And then also our CTE completion. So we have 61% of our students completing a CTE pathway, which is far above what you would see almost anywhere else in the state. And that's due to all the CTEs we've had, but also engineering. We have a whole bunch of students that are completing that engineering pathway and coming online. Yeah.
Tate, we got a request from the online translator for you to slow down a little bit.
Oh, am I speaking too fast?
Yeah,
I'm
thank you.
sorry. I will speak slower. No, I apologize for that. I will certainly speak slower. Okay. In Spanish, you can see bilingualism up there. I think we're pretty unique in that we have a Spanish 4, which is an honors course and AP. Point of or what the Spanish team is working on this year is a collaboration between Spanish 4 and AP. So students realize that you don't have to go straight to that AP course. It is a continuation of your Spanish 4 course, and you can continue to study Spanish, and 4 is actually a really good step for you. So they're working to make that much clearer to students and make the courses much separate. So yeah, next slide, please. Relationships, students, staff, and families. So one of the goals we set at the beginning of this year is to improve staff to student and student to staff relationships by 20%. We do underperform the county when it comes to levels of respect reported from specifically students to staff. Families actually feel it's going really well. Staff feel it's going pretty well. Students do not feel that it's always going well. We also set some numbers for staff to staff respect, which is really important to us, that we're collaborating, that we're working together, that we're establishing common goals for our school. And I think a lot of that work is kind of shown through the results that we had last year and the results we're continuing to see this year. That's it. That is our SIPSA. I can speak to any part of that you'd like me to speak more to. But generally, the RFEP question is one that we're delving into deeply this year. We're also looking at ways to increase collaboration at the campus and levels of respect between all constituents.
Do you know off the top of your head what our graduation rate was last year?
It was 98.5%. That's really good, just so you know.
You kind of, I think, answered my question in your epilogue that you just did, but I just was wondering, like, out of all of this, what are sort of like top of mind goals for next year? And I mean, you kind of said at the end, but is there anything else that would be useful for us to know about?
Yes. I mean, yeah, we haven't really established goals for next year, but I think continuing to have teachers collaborate with one another on ways that we can simplify what is offered to our students, not from an academic standpoint, but from like a what I need to navigate in order to be successful standpoint, could be really useful. I think that'll result in higher A to G rates for our students. While we know every student is not going to go to a four-year university, we want, like my goal, 100% of students should be able to graduate and be A through G eligible with our graduation requirements. 3 years of science, the numbers of math, English, all of it. Like, we're A to G light. I think the one difference is the math requirement for graduation from Healdsburg High School is 3 years of math, but you only have to go through IM2. If you want to go to a CSU or a UC, you have to complete IM3. Otherwise, if you graduate, you are going to be UC eligible. And when we look at who's not, it is that IM3. So not to get like too much more into that, but I think by offering our students a really clear academic program, it's going to allow them to be more successful, which can result not only in students completing CTE pathways, which are really important, but also being A through G eligible, which is, I think, something all of our kids are capable of.
Yeah, thank you for highlighting that. That is helpful. Mm-hmm. Cool, great. Thank you. I just wanted to add, and I don't know if this is super relevant, but I guess, Nicole's here as well. But I just know, like, in our family, I think one of the big challenges has been learning to manage the many options that are available to sort of like have the skill set to, kind of get all your work done and your extracurriculars and decide kind of what you want to do. And I do think junior high and high school are a time where maybe students will stop doing things that they've done for many years because they have to choose. And that's both kind of during the school day and after the school day. And whatever support we can continue to, whatever we can do to continue to support students in their organization, their decision-making, their management of their relationships with their teachers, the management of their workload. I think these are the kind of skills that they kind of get dropped into them. It's a lot better now, but it's like just not to have that be a real like arc of learning that I have no doubt is going to help in any future academic or career setting that they're going to be in, to manage their inboxes, so to speak, and manage the expectations of the people around them, and do things that feel true to themselves and do those things with a high degree of confidence and success. And it's not the kind of thing that you know how to do. Not everybody knows how to do it. So learning those skills, it just seems to me that it's been really, really important from what I've observed in lots of tumbles around our house and places where it wasn't happening right. And so any way that we can look at just integrated support for real student success, I just think is going to be really, really a big deal for our students.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Trustee McAllister, and especially looking at what we've done this year with Avid 9 across our entire ninth grade, where every student takes this course. Many of the skills you're talking about are embedded into that course, and I'll say we're not doing 100% good or well at that course right now. Maybe we're at 80%, but as we continue to roll that out, continue to give students opportunities to learn Cornell note-taking, do reviews of Google Classroom and how you use it, I think it's going to set them up for success. And I've actually been going into those classrooms this week. We're almost at the end of that first semester. Our freshmen need to be thinking about their grades, what's happening. I've heard students say things like, I can just move on to the next course. And I'm like, actually, can't do that. This is high school now. This is graduation requirement. And Abbott is a place where they learn about all of those things, right? And I certainly haven't heard that talk as much this year with that course there. But the more we can do for students to help them navigate 7 courses, extracurriculars, all of that, the better and more well off they're going to be.
Yeah, and I think it is serious preparation for life, because
Yeah.
those are the skills that everyone's using in every job they have and all their further education. The more on top of that their systems they are, the more confident they are about their ability to be flexible and communicate and all those things. It's just that's life. So it's really important.
So are you telling me I shouldn't have 30,000 unread emails in my box right now, I guess?
I totally have 30,000 unread emails. No.
Also, if Karen can teach us all to bake bread, I think we'll be in a really good spot. So, yeah. Any other questions?
Can you briefly expound on the DF rate on one of your slides?
Yeah, can you go to academics? Next one, yeah. So DF rate, we look at Ds and Fs in all classes in order to see, one, which classes are we struggling? Oftentimes those are our more academic courses. You'll look at IM 1, 2, 3, maybe chemistry, physics. But also to know, where do we need to offer support? One thing we've done this year differently for our DNF rate is, I'm not quite sure how Healdsburg's done it in the past, but I think this might have fallen off as you had a number of different people in my seat, COVID, whatever happened. But we weren't doing failing meetings with students. And so last year we brought those back and we did them with all of our seniors. This year we've brought it back and we actually sent DNF letters to all students. Now we're doing meetings with seniors, and starting in January we'll have meetings with students that are juniors, sophomores, freshmen, really because not that we want to be like, oh man, that D, that F, but to bring families into this conversation and talk together about how we can bring these grades up. We are very lucky in Healdsburg, and especially at the high school, with the number of resources we have to help students address grades that are not where they want to be, whether that's tutoring, whether that's time that you can spend with your counselor, whether that's working with I have teachers there before school, during lunch, after school, test retakes, late work policies. All of these are opportunities for students to bring those grades up. And to Rose's point, I think sometimes students don't know what those opportunities are. So if we can build, the 3 legs of the stool, you have the school, the families, and the students all on the same page, hopefully we can bring some of those Ds and Fs up. Well, Ds do, this is another difference actually with A through G. So Ds can get you to graduation, right? But Ds cannot get you into a UC or a CSU. So another reason we want to see those rates raise.
I love the family meeting because I do think, teenagers, God love them. They don't really often get the consequences. Right? And
Mhm.
so,
I think sometimes families also feel that high school is a time where we can kind of take our foot off the pedal for some families, or I've heard families say, well, it's their responsibility, they're going to figure it out, and they're not. So, maybe some of them are, but a lot of them are not, and they need, we need to continue to support our students, whether they're 14, 15, 16, 17, 18.
Or efforts to support
Exactly,
them either.
right?
So
Yes.
it's
Yeah. You might be told they don't need support, but yeah. Okay. Anything else?
Yep. I think it was goal 3.
Yep.
Saw family engagement. I'm just wondering specifics, if you can rattle
Sure.
off a few.
So we have been working with ESPE to obviously increase family engagement. We've been offering, we do the Donuts with Danhausen, and that has increased from maybe 2 people there last year to upwards of 8 to 10 parents, which we think is a really good thing. We've organized when our notes go out. So anyone who is a parent in this district, as I am, will know Parent Square is very useful, and you get a lot of notifications in it, right? And so one thing we've done at the high school is Sunday at 1 o'clock, you always get your notes from the high school, and that's where all of our information is, and there's one place where you can get it. And so I think a lot of that for us is making sure that families know when and where to go to get information about the high school. Our website, we've been working with Laurel on improving that, but there's a lot of things we can continue to do to improve and reach out to our families. So,
Sorry, how do we hear back from them? Get the feedback from.
So Youth Truth is one way that we do it. Last year, we did a lot with the cell phone policy, and I think I did 3 different surveys for the cell phone policy. We'll be bringing out some more surveys or questions for parents about things that we're looking at for next year. But that is generally how we hear back. Or, I'll get told that my note was wrong and I forgot someone, and then I send a retraction. All sorts of ways that we hear back. Yeah. Yep, sure.
Thank
okay,
you.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, Tate.
All right, next we have 11.1C, 24-25 CAS scores.
Okay, good evening, trustees. Tiffany Dougherty, Director of Curriculum and Instruction. Tonight, I'm going to talk to you about the CASP, which measures ELA and math achievement, and the CAST, which measures the science performance for our district. So these results came in just about a month or 2 ago and were finalized, actually October 15th-ish, finalized. And then the dashboard, just came out, so you'll get to hear more about that next time. You get to hear lots of dashboard things. So tonight, though, we're not going to go into numbers. I gave you a lot of numbers in your packet, and I have them here in case you ask me questions about them. Good. But this evening, we're actually going to look at the story behind the data instead. So first of all, I thought I'd mention why we analyze CASP. It is just this one point in time kind of an assessment, and we have all this other data. We have the STAR assessment, which we give 4 times a year. We have writing samples. We have CFAs that the teachers do. We have curriculum-based assessments. So why is this one important? Well, it does give us a lot of information that we can act on systematically and systemically, both of those things. This data allows us to compare year over year, and it also gives us an opportunity to look at students over time so that we can see longitudinally how they're doing. It also gives us a chance to compare against other districts, the county, the state, and that's something that none of our local data gives us that opportunity to do. So it's important data for us to take a look at. I want to caution us always when we look at data like this that it's not an opportunity to judge the data. It's an opportunity to learn from it. So this particular slide shows overall district-wide trends. And I went from 2022 to 2025 so that you could see that time when we were just coming back from the pandemic. That was that first test in 2022. The red bar is Healdsburg Unified School District. The blue line is Sonoma County, and the black line is California. So you can see that we are trending upwards since that pandemic time, kind of steady progress. Occasionally there, you had a little math, 2 steps forward, 2 steps back, but it's back up, again. And then I want to say something about this slide, though, that really spoke to me. The story from it was that it's not about one school. It's not about one program. It's not about one lucky year. This shows incremental progress over time that everyone in this district is contributing to. And so I think it's really telling us a nice story about who we are. Okay, so we do have some bright spots, and don't worry, we'll talk about the other part, but it's hard as educators sometimes for us to talk about the bright spots. You ask a teacher how their lesson went, they're always like, oh, next time I teach it, and they're telling you what they're going to change instead of talking about what really went well. So I'm going to start with what went really well. We did increase 4 percentage points, so all of these are percent met or exceeded. So this is not the same information that's on the dashboard, which shows the distance from standard, either positive or negative. So this is a different thing. This is met or exceeded. So in both language arts and math, overall, the district was up 4 percentage points. Science is up 13 percentage points overall. So those are great, but there's some incredible stories within each of the school sites and also within our subgroup data. So at Fitch Mountain campus, 75% of 5th graders met or exceeded on the math CASP. I mean, that's something to shout about. So I know, I shouted. Only 36% of students, 5th grade students in the state, met or exceeded on the math CASP, and only 28% in Sonoma County. So that 75% is just phenomenal. And we will actually talk about it again in a few minutes because there's another slide all about it. But I'm just going to keep going. So the junior high had this 12 percentage point increase in English language arts. And I want to pause there real quickly because I reached out to them and I said, wow, that's really very impressive. They had double-digit gains in each grade level for language arts at the junior high. And I asked them, what happened? How did you do it? And they said, oh, it wasn't just us. We worked together with the social studies team. So we really worked as a great team. We collaborated. We looked at what was important for our students, and we gave the English language arts interim assessments from the state, which are available to give, in both the social studies and English classrooms. And so they didn't just give it, they actually gave the assessment with the teacher doing it the first time on the screen. And the kids had it in front of them too, and they did it all together, and they talked about questions and answers and how to find those good answers. And then the next time the kids did it and they analyzed the data and they saw how they did, and the kids took real ownership of that, and the teachers working together collaboratively in that professional learning community, that's what made the real difference there. So high school, 5 percentage points in math, and I'm going to try to go just a little faster, although I'll probably get called down by the translator. I'm really excited about the Ever ELs piece that's up there. So Ever EL is a student who has ever been an English learner in our system. They may have reclassified, but if they've ever been an EL, they're in that category. And that group of students went up 8 percentage points in both English language arts and math. And you know what that does? That closes the gap. So when all students go up 4 points and your Ever ELs go up 8 points, you're really working on that gap. And that's a beautiful thing for us to see in our district. Okay, we're going to go to the next slide. Okay, the progress has not gone unnoticed. So I did want to just put in a little bragging rights slide here. We've received emails not just from the state, not just from the California Department of Education about the dashboard, But we started receiving emails right away, mid-October, from Educational Results Partnership about being on their honor roll. So there's almost 10,000 schools in California, and Healdsburg Elementary School / Fitch Mountain Campus in particular, where they give the 3rd through 5th grade tests, is one of 1,800 schools that they pulled out to recognize for great achievement. And then the Innovate Public Schools, which kind of sounds like it's a charter school, it's not. It's an organization that's dedicated to innovation in public schools. And so what they're looking for is schools that are not just achieving, but are really making a difference for those subgroups. And so out of all those 10,000 schools, only 409 of them were recognized. And we're one of the few that's recognized in both language arts and math achievement for Fitch Mountain Campus. So that's a pretty phenomenal recognition, and the only one in Sonoma County for math. And then, U.S. News ranked and said that both our high school and our elementary school are some of the best in the nation. That's just great. Okay, so we're going to look at subgroups. This slide is for English Language Arts, and the next one that we'll pause on for a second in just a minute is the math. So what you're looking at here is HUSD is the red bar, the state is the yellow or gold bar, and then the county is the blue bar. And so this shows overall, so this is not by particular grade levels, but you do have all of that, once again, in your packet. But this shows how we're doing as subgroups. And we do have some pretty strong highlights here. Everybody is growing. We also have some, well, not quite everybody, but we do have some work to do. Our students with disabilities are an area that all across the state and the county you can see we have some needs, but that's the only area that we're actually below the state level. So it's an area of concern and work for us. And then this one is math. So again, it shows that we are, our students are outperforming the state in every subgroup category and continuing to make gains every year. Okay, science deserves its own spotlight. We did see, if you could push the, I have some fancy things. There we go. There's two more. So we are up 13 percentage points over last year, and that is compared with the county and then with the state. And so, yeah, did you like my fanciness there? Oh, wait, there's more. So I did talk with the high school, but then Tate told the whole thing while he was standing up here. But I talked with them because I wanted the story of what was going on. You know, how did you do this great work with your science scores? And so he talked about the same things he talked to you guys about, which was the score increases. But he also mentioned the project-based learning that's going on, particularly in the science classes, and then the alignment between ag science and the other sciences. So they're starting to really align their programs in professional learning communities, and that's a difference maker. Okay, I put cohort groups in here for several reasons. I think that when you look at a cohort, you can see that learner progress over time. So I'm going to orient you to this slide because it's got a lot going on. So first of all, you have the class of 2032. So those are the kids that were in 5th grade last year. Those students are now 6th graders this year. And it shows what they scored in language arts and math as 3rd graders, as 4th graders, and then as 5th graders. So those are the same kids growing over time. Okay? So you can see that they made some good achievement and that they continued to grow over time. And you know, growth doesn't go like this. Growth goes like this, right? So just kind of keep that in mind because it's not always steady, perfect, one step after another. When we look at the class of 2029, these are the students who are now 9th graders at Healdsburg High School. Last year, they were 8th graders. It shows where they came in as 6th graders, then as 7th, and then as 8th graders. And it shows that we made some very strong progress in our English language arts, and it shows that we have some work to do in our math. So that's what we're learning from it, right? We're not going, oh, those math scores. We're saying, oh, okay, those math scores. We've got some work to do. And then my favorite one of the cohorts to take a look at is really interesting. This is the class of 2026. These kiddos are seniors this year. They took the test last year as 11th graders. Their last test before the pandemic was when they were 5th graders. Okay. And then their next test that we have for them is when they were 8th graders. And then we have their 11th grade. So it does show some good learning recovery. You know, everybody's worried about, are we recovering? Show some good learning recovery. We still have work to do in secondary math. It's just very clear. Starting in 6th grade and up, we've got some work to do. But language arts is looking really good. Do you have it? I was going to ask if you had any questions about that. This one's a little bit of a tricky slide, so I did want to ask if you have any questions before we kind of move on. Everybody's turning on the mic.
Well, that was fascinating, the 2026 recovery, because it's not often that you see that. I mean, we talk about the impact the pandemic had, but we don't often see it graphically like that. And yeah, that's really helpful just to remind us that we can look at specific data and see it.
Right. And we put all those resources to good use.
Yes.
Well, building on that comment, there was a lot of data in here that starts with 2019 and then takes a break. Picks up in 2022, which is 3 years back. And I really appreciated that information in here because you read a lot of articles about how so many schools and students have not recovered, have not come back and exceeded where they were in 2019. And wow, just wow. So it's really, really nice to see almost in every case, it looks like we have made up, you know, again, with a few exceptions, that learning loss. And then you just think about lost time and it's terrifying, but yeah, so I appreciated that.
Yeah, that's very nice.
That historical information was really helpful in here, so thank you.
Great.
Yeah, this is such a good and helpful format and really interesting. And I was going to just add that like our 2 older kids are in 10th grade now, so class of 2028, and they had a big interruption in their CASP scores. But then our younger son is in the class of 2032. That's his class's information right there. And, you know, it's just really good that we have consistent data from the last few years now. And just to see that trending upward is really great because that's coming out of the pandemic too. So
it really is.
Because class of 2032 was in kindergarten when lockdown started. So they started taking CASPs on time in 3rd grade, but missed, you know, either
all
1.5
literacy.
or right. Right.
All the reading instruction.
Yes.
Online kindergarten.
Yeah.
0 out of 10. Do not recommend.
Yeah, for real. And I am going to digress for just one quick second. So I have been looking at our STAR reading and early literacy scores. And that trend is also showing in our like beginning of the year data. For example, our kindergartners, the first year I was here, which was 4 years ago, only just a little over 20%. I can't remember the exact number, so pretend it's 28%. Started off the year at level, and now it's like 50-something%. So it just is such a big difference when you give those kids the opportunity to have early childhood education that's literacy rich.
TK.
Yeah.
TK makes a difference.
Yes, it does. And preschool.
And preschool.
Okay, we better go to the next slide or I'll be here forever. Okay, so what are we working on? So I did say we would definitely look at this part, and we have a lot of opportunities here. So there are some the graphic, I want to talk about the graphic real quick because the purpose of this graphic is to show that when things are in balance, you've got the teacher and the student and the presence of good content and everything's working, it's just beautiful, and that's when you have optimal learning. When something gets out of balance, that's when things aren't as optimal. And we as a system have to look and figure out what those things are and how we can make changes to our system. So I'm going to mention real quick, for example, fourth grade math. It is unusual for our fourth grade math to have such a dip. We had a teacher who was out for quite a bit of time, and that happens sometimes. That's not that teacher's fault. There's no judgment there. But what it shows is how important such a high quality teacher is to something like the CASP scores and the student achievement. It's so important. So what can we do? Because that's going to happen. That's going to happen for a lot of variety of reasons. Teachers are human. What can we do as a system to better support our long-term substitutes? What can we do as a system to better support students when their regular teacher is out for some time? So that's just kind of an example of what we need to look at and what we can tell with this kind of data, because we can see the trend in fourth grade math has never had that kind of a drop before when you look at that data. So another example or something that I want to talk about real quick is the sixth grade transition to the junior high. I'm actually going to talk about this. That's a pretty significant drop, and that's not unusual. That's the trend that we've been seeing. So they made some pretty big changes this year at the junior high to make the transition easier on students. So that was the case of, like in our optimal learning, that was a time when students were being asked to be totally different from the children they had just left as in early June. Come back in mid-August and all of a sudden they have 7 teachers and 7 classes and 7 changes, and that's a lot going on for those kiddos. So the changes at the junior high around the humanities and the STEM teachers, which is similar to the way that it is at Fitch Mountain campus, is really a big difference maker. And so we hope to see that that sort of thing is going to yield good results. We've also very purposefully kept the class numbers lower in 6th grade, more like what they are at Fitch Mountain, not exactly, but closer to it, rather than the students going in and having those larger classes that they're going to have. Making it a little more, I'm going to say it, like middle school than junior high. And I think that's an important thing for 6th graders. Okay, we do have a lot to work on here. We've got to work on our secondary math. That we've mentioned that. That's very clear. Our students with disabilities didn't have growth in math, but overall, that's our lowest subgroup, and that is an area that we're looking at for a lot of different reasons. We want to know what we can do better, and we are trying some things. So, for example, at Fitch Mountain campus, they have set aside time for core instruction in which nobody can be pulled out. You can't pull them out for anything. No speech teacher, not now. No interventionist, not now. These kids are learning the core instruction. They're learning the essential standards, and they're not going anywhere. And that's pretty cool. So there's time set aside for them to be pulled out, but it's not during that core time. Because how can we expect students to be proficient on content they weren't in the room for, right? So that's a pretty great example of all the educators
huge.
in the room go, uh-huh. So we're continuing to work on gaps between our subgroups. We're continuing to work on all of these things on this page, and we're excited about some of the things that are happening with it. Okay, I did want to very clearly connect actions to specific improvements. So we have been monitoring students who've reclassified for the first 4 years that they reclassify. That's in our LCAP 2.3 action. And that has shown that improvement in the EVER ELs, who went up the 8 percentage points in both language arts and math. We have a long history of working on project-based learning and CTE pathways. That's our LCAP goal 2.2, and that has shown that significant growth in science. And then the PLC process has been a big district-wide initiative. That's LCAP goal 1.1, and that has shown gains in almost every subject and grade across the board. That's good. We're doing it. Okay, so I want to pause and talk again about that fifth grade math. But I'm not going to do the talking. The fifth grade teachers are going to do the talking. So I asked them to tell us a little bit about how this all worked out. How did they get these incredible scores? And so you're going to see a short video in just a second. It was originally 19 minutes long, and I'll tell you what, I'm not going to play that for you. I will send it to you though, because it's honestly a master class in what collaborative teaching looks like and the way a PLC is supposed to, or a PLT is supposed to run. So I trimmed it down to 3 minutes for tonight, and I asked many, many people if it was too long, and they all said no, it's riveting. So as you watch, listen for, which my husband said no, it's riveting, and he's the one who would definitely tell me you got to cut it down longer. So I want you to watch for what they say about common assessments, about essential standards, and my absolute favorite line in the whole thing, I have to tell you, is it started with us getting elbows deep in our standards. Isn't that a great line? Okay, should be. We don't know if it's going to go. I mean, they were frozen. So
getting the correct answer. It's like about how you got the answer, like how did you solve it, showing your strategies, explaining it. I think we really started the school year by trying to really build a growth mindset with our students, talking about learning pits and how learning really happens in the pit when we struggle, and that struggle is good. Really focusing on that it's not always about just getting the correct answer. It's like about how you got the answer, like how did you solve it, showing your strategies, explaining it, and that when we make mistakes, our brain is really growing, and celebrating actually even when we made mistakes along the way.
I think it really started with us like getting elbows deep in what our standards were, because I think like when I was a teacher before I was like doing standards aligned, I mean, we always like had standards, but before I was doing standards based instruction and standards based assessment, I was like, oh, I don't know how to like, I'm gonna try these things, but I'm so clear now on like, here's where they need to get, here's how I'm gonna get them there, here's how I'm gonna know that they've got it or don't. And then it's like so prescriptive because I'm like, okay, well now I know that this child knows like A and B, but like doesn't know this other part of it. And it just has made it way more clear for me as a teacher. By getting more familiar with my standards, I've been able to like clarify my role and clarify like the student's role in that. When you have a, you know, like a common core state standard, you could have like 5 people read that standard and interpret it like totally differently. And so that has been interesting because we'll be like talking about a standard, and when we're making these CFAs, I'm like, well, we should ask this question because it's asking this and that. She's like, wait, but I'm thinking it means this. And so I don't think that's just like an isolated us thing. I think that that's happening like in ELA, in math, across grade levels. I think it's just important work for us to continue as a district to continue like providing training and understanding, like, because if we can't accurately deconstruct a standard, then like we can't accurately instruct it or assess it or all these different things. And so making sure. So we meet once a week during our PLT time, and usually what that looks like is we have assessments that have already been created over the years or last year or whatever, and we basically go through that and we look at, okay, does this assessment actually align to the parts of the standard?
And then it was really nice because then the kids wanted to see their pre-quiz, and then we'd do their final quiz, and the questions were similar types of questions, like they would line up so they could see like, oh, on my pre-quiz I had no clue how to do this type of question, and now look, I got it, or I almost have it. And then we would you know, compare them side by side so the kids could see that, so they were seeing their growth that they were making too. So
I think the transparency of the process for them gives them the ownership and the buy-in, and I think that's where we see like that's where that perseverance comes from. That's where like the willingness to try a million things and not fail comes from, because they know that they own their own learning, and they all the time I'm like, I'm your teacher, but like that's only 50% of this equation here. Like if you're going to learn it, you have to be an active learner, and that requires you to be taking ownership. And I think that that's been big for them too.
No, I think just, yeah, each kid, like, I think just really grew leaps and bounds. And I think having that positive growth mindset and that I can, you can do anything you put your mind to, I think is really important. And hearing kids say, I love math now. Like, I wasn't a math student. It's like, what do you mean you weren't a math student? Like, none of us are born a math student, believe it or not, right? And we have to work at it.
Isn't that amazing? So that's the kind of collaboration that drives student learning. That's it right there. So if we can go to the next. Okay, so this slide is just to demonstrate to you how it all connects. So we start off each year with our LCAP or strategic plan, which we're currently working on. We go through that PLC process, doing common formative assessments, determining the essential standards. They analyze the data. They provide supports for students in different tiers depending on what the students need. And then they take that CASP test and we look at it all again and refine what we're working on. So we don't always change it, but we refine it every time. And the last thing. So at the center of this story about our data is really our students and our staff. And so, families do care about the scores. Families care whether or not their kids meet or exceed. But what they really care about is the engaging learning experiences and the opportunities to grow and learn as a human being. And so that's what these pictures are all about. I want to thank our teachers, our admin, our support staff, our trustees, our specialists, everyone for the incredible work that has gone into making this a really celebratory presentation. And do you have any other questions? No?
That was super detailed. I loved it. Yeah.
Awesome.
Visual.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Donna, we'll talk later.
All right. Thank you so much, Tiffany. Up next, 11.1D, Healdsburg Unified School District Strategic Planning Update.
Okay. Get my presentation up. This is just a check-in on how strategic planning is going and kind of a view back on what we've done so far and a view forward on where we're going with a couple emerging trends that that we're starting to see. So now we got sound. So this summer, you'll remember, we drafted a vision and commitments statement as a board. We've revisited that since with multiple town hall meetings and with different groups. It's very much a draft still. We had intended, actually, if you looked at the strategic planning document I had done last year, we had intended to have a theory of action finished. We have a draft, but we decided as a board, as a governing team, to wait on that also till we got through the whole process to see if we wanted to make changes again. So we started with those. We formed a strategic planning committee that met twice so far to help us kind of analyze data and come up with the direction and themes and questions that we wanted to ask in our town halls. They have also helped facilitate the town halls. They've been great partners for that and really dove into the work. So very grateful for that. And the team's made up not only of teachers and other staff, but parents as well. You'll remember the town halls we had. We started with October 2nd, where we talked about SEL and school culture. And then we had the October 23rd one October 23rd, we sent a follow-up survey about SEL and school culture. And then on the 29th, we had the one in the library that was around academics. Was a great discussion. See a picture of it there. Just a lot of feedback and experience shared and ideas and wants and needs and wishes. We sent out another survey following that meeting, and we just met this week with our district leadership team to go through not only that, but all the other ways that we've been doing student focus groups, staff meetings, things like that. The admin has been doing that, the site principals. So we started analyzing the data to create quotes of themes and ideas that came up consistently that then the strategic planning committee is going to look at and start to visualize and brainstorm some goals for the district. We're not quite done with all our stakeholder engagement yet. There's still some outstanding things to do. So some more surveying of staff and students, Tate and I think, are going to go back to meet with the Mayo Club again. We had a really great discussion that really started to pick up steam, and then the bell rang. So we want to continue with that. Some emerging trends. Impacts of phones and social media on our students. I hadn't forecasted this one coming out of strategic planning. Did I know it was a problem? Yes. But it was a loud problem voice, not only in our strategic planning committee, but it came up again and again at the first town hall. And really being more intentional about educating students on what social media is and how phones were designed to be addictive and what they're being manipulated into doing and how they can affect them. So that's as far as we've taken it so far, but that is something that I think will be addressed as we move forward. K-12 Spanish bilingual program. We have the immersion study that we're going to talk about in a minute going on. Whether we do immersion or not, in reinforcing our bilingual Spanish program is something that I think will emerge out of this and certainly might be a DLI program as well. Math achievement in secondary, Tiffany hit on that. It just is that the ELA scores are stronger, and we want to see the math scores rise to that level. And Tate actually hit on some of the obstacles that exist in IM3 at the high school in terms of A to G completion. So looking at that, achievement levels for students with disabilities, that is a big issue. It emerged in CAF scores. It was actually something in the data dashboard that we noticed as well. So that's going to be a point of emphasis moving forward as well. As Tiffany showed so well in her slide, we're doing things in systems, and the MTSS and PLC system that we've created and are continuing to create and evolve is working. I believe that the successes we are seeing is only just the beginning. We are really literally just scratching the surface of what could be. I think it'll take us 3 to 4 years to kind of realize that. So continued emphasis on those things, and you heard from the teachers themselves how relevant and strong that work is. AI, yeah. So AI is out there. SCO actually has taken some steps and hired an AI expert that is going to provide some leadership in the county. So I'm looking forward to more participation with them. But the appropriate use of AI and how to do that in schools, where it should be limited, how it should be embraced, how do we teach students to use it appropriately, is here, it's not leaving, and we need to figure it out. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then the importance of mental health supports. We are also seeing, as we saw at the beginning, the way that having counseling and mental health available on campus is making a difference in the lives of our students. It is taking away the obstacles that then make them ready to learn. And so we want to continue to emphasize that. So just some emerging trends that are coming up. Don't know what's going to make it into a strategic planning goal or not yet, and we want to keep the strat plan fairly simple, right? You want it to be something that's digestible and achievable without getting too complicated. But these are things that continue to come up and that we keep hearing about. Debbie was making fun of people who can't use this thing, and I'm the guy going the wrong way. Thank you, Debbie. All right, so what's next? In December, we are, I think, is it the 3rd you called the meeting for? Yeah, December 3rd, the strat planning committee is going to reconvene to look at input and the quotes that the DLT compiled and start brainstorming directions for potential goal and actions. Our goal is, that we stated from the get-go, was to have some draft goals, just the goals, not necessarily the metrics yet, presented to the Board of Trustees in February. So draft plan that we would then work with our DLT to attach metrics and goals to on the multi-year. Tiffany and I were talking about this week. Because the LCAP is a 3-year process, a 3-year document, we're envisioning this being a 6-year strategic plan, so we could encompass 2 LCAP cycles. This is the 3rd year of our LCAP this year, so we'll be looking to re-up it next year. So timely, and it makes sense to do a 6. I mean, seems like we should do it in 3s, right? And 9 seems a little too out into the future, and 3 is not quite enough. So we're thinking a 6-year strategic planning goal document. We will then vet the goals and metrics as part of our LCAP process in the spring with everybody to get input on it. And then the goal is for you to approve it by our June meeting, along with our vision commitment statement and theory of action. So it's where we are, it's where we're going, what we're hearing. Any questions, comments?
Do you feel like you got a good amount of parent feedback? in between town halls and survey? Half? Maybe half?
We'd have to go and compile the numbers. I don't have the number off the top of my head, and we still have a survey out that we haven't gathered yet and closed. So hard to say. I always feel like we don't get enough. Even, half wouldn't feel like enough to me. Yeah.
We also have some parent focus groups that have been done though at the schools. So they have been continuing to, it's not just the town halls or the surveys, it's actually those small group environments as well, so.
Yeah, I just did one last week at DLAC with 15, 20 parents, so, yeah.
Make sure.
That said, it's always hard to get people out and get them to do a survey, but we're doing our best to get a variety of stakeholder engagement so that we do get, whether it's numerically half or not, we're getting representative feedback, right?
Yeah, thank you, Chris. So much great work's been done on this in the last calendar year. And I was just reflecting that when we went to the California School Boards Conference last year in early December, that was really the genesis of wanting to begin this work, was seeing some of the districts where, hearing directly from districts where they had done this planning and were having really amazing results from it. And not just the results, but sort of like the kind of unified path that it mapped forward and what they were doing with that unified map. It was just really, really inspiring, I think, to all of us. And we're headed back to CSBA again, the conference in a couple weeks, and it's going to be super interesting having kind of come this far to hear maybe some of those same ideas from other districts and integrate that again, into what we've done so far, which I think we really have come quite a long way. So, yeah, great job. And I look forward to continuing to work on it and, really making it useful for everyone in the district.
Great, thank you. All right, I think I'm up for the next item as well.
Update on dual enrollment.
Dual immersion.
Dual immersion. Sorry, I read that totally fast.
All good.
I'm so tired.
All right, dual language immersion update. So it actually changed in the last day or so. In conversations with Natalie Winkler, she was here in the audience. So Natalie is the parent who started the drive for this and submitted a petition that kicked in the 60-day ed code. So we got the petition on the 20th, had 120 signatures, 40 of them. We have to check to see how many are parents. We stopped once we hit 40 at HES alone, didn't even look for FMC parents, which the trigger in the law is 30. So we met that. And then we are following what the law said. We embarked on starting to draft a feasibility study. Tiffany and I have been working on it. And then notified parents and teachers. I actually have met with teaching staff at both FMC and HES about it, and as well as the paras at HES, just to talk through what it is, what could be, where could it go, those kinds of things. However, I talked to the Calistoga superintendent, Audra Pittman, who did this the last few years. So she had a similar parent group ask for an immersion program. She worked with that parent group, and I just talked to her a few weeks ago and worked to waive the 60 days and then engage in a feasibility study with experts. And so I've been talking and emailing and texting with Natalie. And she's agreed to waive the 60 days. And so I've actually already gotten a hold of 2 different organizations who can come in and do feasibility plans that we should have in hand in the next few weeks. So that is good, and it's going to give us some expert analysis, not only of what DLI could mean for our schools, but, I'll be the first to say we actually dropped a podcast today that kind of addresses this issue. School choice in elementary schools in Healdsburg is crazy. I've never seen it in another town like this. And scale, because of our schools and how our community self-divides, could present an obstacle. And so I want to be very thoughtful about any change in the elementary program when we do it. And so they will help provide some analysis on that and point us in directions that will help. In fact, today, one of the folks that we talked to identified as the first community that I think actually would be really similar in a lot of ways. Mammoth has very similar sized schools and similar demographics to us, and they have a DLI strand in their elementary school. So that's a place we're going to reach out to make some connections and see how it works. So ski resort down, right? So yeah. Yeah, possibly. Yeah. Well, maybe not in January. I don't ski, so it's not an attraction. The fishing there is great. So in the summer, yeah. Yeah.
Need a board member, let me know.
Yeah, so this shows what we're doing with the timeline change. So the district's soliciting proposals from 2 different organizations. We are looking to see if there's possibly more. Talked to somebody today who says there's individuals who are experts who may have some capacity. So we're gonna look at that too as a possibility. But the 2 organizations I've contacted are CABE, which I've worked with extensively in the past. They are everything bilingual education and multilingual education in the state. I've been to their conferences. I worked with them in other schools. We actually went in Healdsburg and tried to recruit bilingual teachers there one year at their conference because it is the place where that happens. And then there's more of a local, it has a presence in Sonoma County and then mostly San Jose, the Association of Two-Way Dual Language Education, ATDLE. They used to be a part of CAVE, and it's a lot. That one I can't ever remember, so I get to read it now. But it used to be the DLI arm of CAVE, and they kind of broke off and made their own national focused organization, not just statewide. So they're experts as well. And a colleague of mine from Kalikamekka when I was principal is on their board. So that's how I found them. We will be looking at an in-depth study of the feasibility of DLI here and also at the idea of improving our Spanish instructional program, our bilingual program, regardless of what happens with DLI. If we do DLI as a strand, we're still going to want to build a bilingual program in the non-DLI strand. And if we don't do DLI, clearly through strategic planning, we need to beef up how we're doing Spanish. And I think there's some ways we can do that. And I would like to find some model districts and programs as exemplars. So we are hopeful to talking with the consultants today. It sounds like we could have like a fully done study, and schedules will be part of what drives the timing of everything, but in hand by the end of April with, possibilities of talking it in May or June. So, excuse me. And that's kind of the update there. Any questions?
I will make a comment and confess my ignorance of BLI. And the superintendent was good enough to send me something from CABE today, which I spent an enormous amount of time reading. And I would invite you and please ask you to send it to the rest of the board.
It'll be in your weekly update. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay.
Yes.
It's very, I'm going to say immersive to talk about the immersive, but it's a lot of information and a lot of pieces. I mean, I'll be honest, I'm going, why does it take so long? I know now why it takes long.
Yeah, it's not something you jump into quickly, for sure. In terms of, you can decide to implement, but you need to provide a lot of staff support and training. And talking with the folks who will come and do a study, I really appreciated how they were thoughtful about building bridges within the district to the non-DLI side of the house, right? Like making sure, because they've seen it time and time again where division happens amongst staff specifically. And how are you thoughtful about that and make sure that doesn't occur? And I'm cognizant of that, having lived through charter, AE blended. I hear about it in the former immersion program versus the regular program. I wasn't here for it. So those are things that they are skilled in dealing with, and I'm looking forward to hearing their thoughts on that. So,
I would just like to thank you, Natalie, for allowing us the time to do a more in-depth thing. It was gracious of you.
And it's been great working with Natalie. She's thoughtful. She listens. She's met with some of you, I know, understands some of the obstacles, and is jumped into steering committee too for our strat plan. So we got a good involved parent out of it as well. So yeah. Any other questions or thoughts? Yeah.
Just timeline. Once this gets started, my mind just went blank. Feasibility study. That would take, you're saying, through maybe April or so?
Ish, yeah.
Okay.
Depends on, the consultants are going to want to visit somewhere between 7 and 10 days.
Okay.
And conduct focus groups and compile data, et cetera, et cetera.
And then there's the planning, and then there's...
Yeah, and then we have to schedule the days and make sure people are available, that kind of thing.
So the overall timeline, I'm being very pointed, and if you don't know, please say so.
Yeah.
If there were implementation, what would that look like?
So if we're doing the if game, I would imagine we make next semester before our last board meeting in June, we make a decision, right? Say we decide to do DLI. We would most likely start it in 1 grade, maybe 2. And we would take a full year, and this was really affirmed in speaking with this consultants. This is, in my experience, it's not as easy, we're just gonna do it in Spanish. It's not that at all. And so take a full year to prepare, to make sure we have the structures and the leadership team in place, to make sure the teachers who are going to start it and then pick it up are getting training and aligning. You're doing ELA, you're doing the language arts portion in 2 languages. So you're sharing standards across teachers, right? So there's a lot of, it increases the intensity of PLTs because you're sharing standards in Spanish and English all the way through. So it's not just a simple, we're going to do it in Spanish.
So that year of planning, et cetera.
So if you were to start it, if we were going
to
if we were going to say yes in June of 26, we would potentially start it in the fall of, how does that work? 27. Yeah. 27. Yeah. 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 So, but that's all the.
And again, thank you for providing the information to this.
Yeah, and you'll get in the update. I'm gonna give you three things. I'm gonna give you a draft of what Tiffany and I wrote so far. And we're not going to finish it because now we're going to hire someone to do it, but we'll provide it to them because it's got some thoughtful stuff in there. The Center for Applied Linguistics, which is one of the more recognized research organizations around dual language and linguistics in schools specifically, they have a really large document that I'm going to send to you just if you have time over Thanksgiving. And then the CABE one, it's a website that you can poke around on and kind of explore. It's probably a little more digestible in tidbits, but you can get lost on it real quickly and easily too. So yeah, so those would be the 3 things to look for, more resources around DLI. Okay.
All right, in the effort to be transparent, I have to say a few words right now, which is just that I really, really appreciate that this inquiry is happening and that we're gonna have so much good professional kind of outside expertise and kind of like that's specific to our community. And I just want to highlight that cohesion and cooperation and community have been the theme of this meeting and all of our work for the last years since the charter school went away. And I get super emotional thinking about the progress that we've made to make our schools community schools where everyone is getting good resources, where our communities are being served, and where we have an opportunity, our teachers have an opportunity to work together to create the best environment, and our students have the opportunity to be one group. And it is going to be a really hard sell for me to think about sacrificing that when we know that in this community, many, many families are looking out for their child and what their child is going to get and what their child is going to walk away with. And we look at that when we think about elementary school choice, when we think about a lot of different factors, that is what we come up with. And we saw it within our own schools and with our own eyes. And so much effort has gone into making our community schools our community schools. We are not a big place. We do not have a lot of nimble flexibility to create multiple programs. And I am totally open for this. I just want to say, like, I think language learning is probably one of the most important things that we have to look at for our students and their futures. And I am really going to have to hear some new information to think that that should be separate programs.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway.
No, and I appreciate your perspective, and I have a lot of the same concerns. I will say, I'm just going to say this. The biggest obstacle I think that we face in being able to do something like this is scale, right? Because we will divide and possibly redistribute students in a way that could be discriminatory or whatever. And
staff. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but what we just watched was teachers talking about their PLCs. So then what we lose is all that collaboration and the potential for collaboration that come from focusing on one great program for every student.
Yeah, and to that end, I think it's worth examining and talking about district consolidation specifically, because if we had a larger scale, for instance, if Geyserville was part of our school district and we took on their 120, 130 students, we could potentially have some school choice and not divide the community staff the way that it might if we did it this other way. So that's something I would like to actually talk about more. I actually brought it up with their new superintendent. And I do think there's a lot of reasons why it's a good idea. We actually didn't try to consolidate the district, but 12, 13 years ago, we tried to make an agreement with them for them to send their high school kids here. And there's a lot of reasons why. Look at our outcomes, look at the comprehensive experience you get. It's the experience for students and the outcomes they would realize being here compared to what they're getting now is just completely different, right? So I do think that's maybe we could create a little energy in that direction too. That would be a positive. So we can talk about it more. Yeah, it is.
All right, thank you, Chris. Hold on, Judy. We have reports. Do we have had a report? We do.
Since Thanksgiving is next week, my theme is going to be giving thanks. I'm going to start with thanks for the much needed week off. Our members are all expressing it when I visit my colleagues at the high school. This week is needed coming up. Okay. I also want to thank that I get to represent such a fine group of educators that got us recognized by the state, one of 4 districts. And I get to represent them as the HADA president, and I'm proud of them that they brought this to our district, right? As Chris said earlier, you don't get this every year, right? So forever. See, look, it's all because of me. No, just kidding. No, I'm also thankful for the school district starting the process of finding a benefits provider that may help the cost increase that we've been seeing, like for our teachers, right? Benefits are an issue. We hear it in the news from the federal government. There's going to be it's not going away, but hopefully we can alleviate some of the cost. And thank you, Debbie, for and Chris getting that started, that process of discussion and trying to find a new vendor. Perhaps we have the best vendor, but at least we are shopping around and learning about it. I also want to give thanks to Debbie for getting our changes to our salary schedule. Getting that moving. I hear it may be November, but definitely by December. It's November. All right, so good. Got that. Well, thank you.
Christmas is early.
Yeah. It was approved. Okay. Oh, thank you. I am giving thanks here. And finally, I want to express thanks to the trustees for doing a deeper dive into the financial aspects of the district also, right? We got the email, and it looks like you are looking deeper. In that last board meeting, I expressed that I hope you do, right? And it sounds like you are looking deeper into the finances. I just want to make one correction. because I have to, because I'm a math teacher and I'm a computer science teacher. I'm a logic guy, right? There's one correction in the part of the email that talks about a 50% increase in compensation. I was having a discussion with my wife, and she said, well, she was doing a compensation study for her board. She's a board president for the CS Fund, and when you do a compensation study, compensation is salary, benefits, pay time off, fringe benefits, and everything. So a correction would be it's a 50% increase in salaries, not compensation. Okay? Yeah. All right, thank you.
Do we have a CSEA report tonight? Seeing none. Student trustee report.
Big race coming up. Big race coming up.
Yeah, this Saturday. I guess I'll start with that. The cross country team is going to NCS on Saturday. We're currently third in NCS. That's a one-place drop from last time I saw you, but I think it's going to be competitive. Top 4 teams in each division go to state, so we're well in that margin, and it's looking good. And hopefully, we're the first team to go to state in the history of Healdsburg High School. So fingers crossed, and we've worked hard for it. So yeah, and with that, we'll continue to talk about athletics. So winter sports have started. We have soccer, both men's and women's, basketball and wrestling at the high school. And I've also reached out to the junior high. I believe we have volleyball and basketball. And I've heard they're both pretty good this year.
Volleyball just spanked St. Helena today.
Yeah,
they're
that's
very
what
good.
I heard. Yeah. And sticking with the high school, it's kind of that time in the year where you need to start thinking about December. We have Rebit. The leadership classes started planning for Rebit and other spirit weeks and leadership initiatives for the month of December. And again, at the high school, what I've collected since the previous board meeting is the increase in the idea that AI is going to have a big impact on the lives of students. And just this morning, students got on their Chromebooks and saw ChatGPT was blocked. And I understand it could have been an error because it got unblocked later in the day, but regardless, it spoke to the fact that kids are extremely dependent on AI. And, I'm sure that's not the best thing to hear, but kids really they stick to ChatGPT and all those AI systems, and they were pretty outraged to see that it was blocked this morning, even for an hour. But again, it speaks to the fact that with AI and its emergence in the world, it's not going anywhere. So for you guys to think about when that formulation has to come on where to draw the line in schools to where AI is acceptable, keep in mind that these kids feel dependent on it. And to an extent, it is helpful. And I've talked to numerous teachers over the last week or so, and they believe that AI has both benefited the classroom, but also had its cons to the classroom, and that kids are turning in nonsense, but they're also being tutored by AI and being able to perform in some areas better than they previously. But moving away from the high school, for Fitch Mountain campus, I've heard we've got parent-teacher conferences going on, that connection with the parent to the curriculum and how their kid is doing. Also the book fair, and we had a spirit week. And practice for the winter performance has started December 15th. And at the junior high, zero tardy party, all right? That was, as someone from the high school who sees everybody tardy all the time, it's, yeah, far fewer this year, but kids are still tardy, and it's a good habit to build, especially in the junior high, that there is a zero tardy party, and 140 students attended that. Yeah. And then Yeah, that's impressive stuff. But again, junior high, we have those sports, very good. And with that, spirit weeks, and I've heard an all-time spirit high at the junior high, with kids being very involved in the spirit days. And I heard some students attended a youth truth workshop where they created a goal to increase a sense of safety and belonging to the school community. Yeah, that's all I have for you guys today. Yeah.
Thank you. And I really appreciate you always taking on a hard topic in your updates. So yeah, it's good. Yeah.
Do we have a board of trustee report?
I just would like to actually compliment Debbie, who convened the swimming pool committee, and it was great. It was it's a really nice team of people, and we're not drowning yet. Anyway, it was the participants were really engaging, and it was fun, and the design is going to be very, very exciting. So it's a nice investment. And I also did go to Are You Smarter Than a Sonoma County fifth grader? And unlike Chris, I missed more than one of the questions. And my grandson bombed. But so I'm going to go have a little chat with him about how many feet there are in a yard. But anyway, I just thought it was great, and I hope we do it again because it's just really fun. It was really fun. And I want to compliment those Fitch Mountain teachers. They were terrific, and your kids were terrific. It was great.
I'll throw in that Karen put together our first wellness committee meeting, district wellness committee meeting a couple weeks ago, and kind of a light turnout, but working on the next one in a couple weeks, and hoping to, but she had good input from each campus and what they were focusing on and under the wellness umbrella, and hoping to see more progress there. So it was very good.
I would also like to shout out FMC. I attended their bingo and loteria night last week, just for like the last 30-ish minutes of it, but just the energy that was in there. The kids were super engaged. They were super ready to get the prizes. It was a really fun to see, like, the person who was doing the calling of the cards, like, super animated. So it was like a really good space to like walk into, and it was nice. So shout out to Fitch Mountain for pulling that together.
One last thing, the 15th of December, if you need a little holiday outing, that we have the winter performance for Fitch at 5:30. And immediately following in Esquivel Hall is the HJH, the world's greatest band, right? We don't even have to say that. Yeah. Yeah, so you can get a 2-for-1 that night and hear some great holiday music. So yeah, we have jazz band. We probably have the Prince Street band. We might have a no principals sighting. I don't know.
And the junior high band also plays as part of the holiday concert. I will be doing the snack table, the cookie table. I put a lot into it. I hope you'll all be there. Buying to raise money for the Disneyland trip for the band that is happening in the spring. And there's a big fundraising push going on there. So I'm going to make homemade bread and a bunch of different kinds of cookies, and other parents are going to bring things. It's going to be a wonderful night listening to the Greyhounds and celebrating the holidays.
Yeah.
And it sounds like the board does want to take a 5-minute break. Okay, so this tentative agreement between the Healdsburg Area Teachers Association and the Healdsburg Unified School District.
Is this me? My bad. So you have the TA that we negotiated and agreed upon with HADA, and that includes the raise. Any questions about that?
Do I have to read this?
So we got to do the public hearing
Yeah.
first. You're
All
right.
right, the board.
No. You approve the TA, then we do the public hearing,
okay,
which
okay.
is about the AB 1200. Sorry.
I move that we pass the agreement.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Awesome. Thank you.
Moving on to the public hearing. All right, so the Board of Trustees has set this time aside to hear public comments on the collective bargaining tentative agreement with HADA for 25-26 as required by Assembly Bills 1200 and 2756, submitted by Debbie Odetto, Director of Business Services. Oh my God.
So we'll open the public hearing. And do we have any public that wish to speak?
Gavel in, yeah.
Hearing none, we can close it.
Longest day public hearing ever.
Yes.
All right. Moving on to Part C, public disclosure of collective bargaining tentative agreement, Assembly Bill 1200 agreement.
Good evening. Here's your AB 1200s in your packet.
Yep.
These are the forms that show the impact of the salary increase over a 3-year period. These have been submitted to SCO and approved, and they're ready for board approval. This is certificated only, mind you. And this shows that the impact for 1 year is $566,000.
Do we have a motion?
I'll move to approve. Oh, no, I'm sorry.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Not a hearing, no, I mean, it's not a roll call. Okay, thank you.
Oh, yep. All right, moving on to 11.2D, certificated salary scheduled for 2025-2026.
You have copies of all of the new salary schedules. This includes all certificated speech and counselors as well, and nurses. This shows the salary increase, including the stipend increase for the master's, the doctorate, and the bilingual stipends.
Yes.
Of $500 a year.
All right, so moved.
Second.
All right, all in favor? Aye. Thank you. Then we have the annual organization meeting.
So every year we have to reorganize ourselves as a board. It's where we elect a new president and vice president, which we've met about and we'll follow a process for, and then redo the committee assignments. So we need to designate December 17th as our organizational meeting date.
So
Officially.
moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, next we have a discussion, a Healdsburg Unified School District 2026 board meeting calendar.
So this is a first read of it's first read, right? Yeah, it's the first read of the calendar for 2026. Shows the board meetings as they would come down. Now's the time to tell us if there's a major event that's going to prevent you from being at one. But
If you happen to know that.
Yeah.
If you happen to know.
Well, it's like my 50th anniversary on whatever or something like that.
So far, you're good.
Yeah. So
How do we get to March 11th?
Because the 18th is spring break.
because of spring break, and we typically, because of the March 15th date, try to have a meeting before March 15th.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. And
Alright.
the budget date on second interim is March 15th as well. So.
Got it.
Horrible.
Yep.
All right, thank
Yep.
you.
Important.
Then we're moving on to the comprehensive. Oh,
June 10th.
moving on to the comprehensive school safety plan.
Good catch. All right, Debbie.
I was thinking that we were supposed to be in it.
Okay, this is a first reading of the comprehensive school safety plan that we update every year to be compliant. This first slide shows you what we're in the process of doing right now. Admin have met with staff. We've updated emergency bags. Sites are updating their maps, earthquake drills, ICS forms. We met last week or the week before with HPD, and we did an active attacker tabletop exercise with the DLT team. got some momentum. We're going to be working on some of those exercises throughout the year and regrouping with HPD in spring to talk about where we're at and next steps. And we're also discussing a reunification plan with the city on how we would help each other and where that would be and what that looks like.
Are all of the, what did you call it, tabletop exercises, are they all tabletop exercises, or do you foresee
Right
doing
now, we're just at
any
tabletop.
drills?
At the sites, the admin are doing drills with their staff.
With staff, not
Yeah.
students.
No.
This is more a tabletop exercise to help us evaluate the policies we have and the actions we would take in our ICS plans to make sure everything's in line. Basically, they poke holes in everything and help us find the inconsistencies. Yeah. So
Yeah.
Debbie and I, we did one this summer with HPD, just the two of us. And then we just did it with all the principals in DLT last week. So we'll do more.
Sorry. Updating forms, maps, drills. Are we done with that? You say currently, so I'm.
No.
No.
The sites have submitted to me what they have right now, but it'll change a little bit before I bring the final draft to you,
Right.
Thank you.
which will be in February.
Yeah, there were some things.
Thank you.
And then this next slide shows some new bills that need to be implemented and put in place for the new plan. The first two up there is the LGBTQ trainings, and we are addressing that, and staff will be getting PD on PD Day in January. They'll be getting trainings on that. AB 2968 talks about fire hazard zones to include in your evacuation procedures, and none of our sites are in a high fire zone, although you probably think Fitch Mountain, but Fitch Mountain campus comes very close, but none of our sites are in a zone. SB 1248 is standardized guidelines defining temperature thresholds and modifying outdoor physical activities. We have implemented this, but we're working on written guidelines for the plan. We haven't done that yet.
Okay.
And then the AB 3216 is the phone-free schools. And currently it's been implemented at both secondary schools. So that's where we're at.
Thank you.
Any questions?
No, thank you very much,
Thank
though,
you.
Debbie.
Debbie.
Thank you, Debbie. 11.3 personnel, public hearing, Healdsburg Area Teachers Association contract reopeners for 2026, 2027. So the board will set time aside to hear public comments on the Healdsburg Area Teachers Association contract reopeners for 2026, 2027.
Open it. Mike? No? You're the only public? Okay.
All right. 11.3 B, Healdsburg Area Teachers Association contract reopeners.
This is basically a vote to acknowledge that we've received them.
So moved.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. 11.3, public hearing, Healdsburg Unified School District contract reopeners for 2026, 2027. Public hearing. Board of Trustees has set time aside to hear public comments on the Healdsburg Unified School District contract reopeners. Hearing none.
Close it.
Okay. D, Healdsburg Unified School District contract reopeners.
So you have our reopeners. This is a year when we can choose 2 articles on top of salary and compensation. So had it identified 2, and we identified 2, and
Right.
that's moving forward. So
All right. So moved. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Board trustee reports, comments, requests for information. Do we have anything? Seeing none. All right. So we don't need to go back to closed session. So our next regular board meeting will be Wednesday, December 17th, 2025 here at City Hall. Deadlines to submit agenda items will be December 8th to complete completed agenda request forms too. And then December 8th, 10th all backup material is due.
I do have one comment. We had earmarked December 8th for a special. That was going to be like a community inviting hearing around DLI because we're doing the feasibility study. We won't need that anymore. So at least not on December 8th, much farther in the future. So, yeah.
All right. Thank you.
All right.